Hello, everyone. I hope everyone's doing good. I hope you guys had a very nice Easter. So, this is the New York Times, April 11th to 26th. I do have to say, Niagara Frontier Radio reading service now presents a reading of articles and features from the New York Times, April 11th of 2026. Your reader is Joe Gibbs. I hope you're having a great day. So last week we did something a little different, right? Hopefully you liked it. I don't know if you did or you didn't, but we did the crossword questions to see if you guys can come up with some answers. And here are the 6 answers from last week. So the first one was fulfillment center, and that was an across one, 3 letters. Fulfillment center. The answer is L's, E-L-S. That 3-letter answer was E-L-S, and that was for that one. And then the other one was number 47 across. Dennis Blank, author of Mystic River and Gone Baby Gone. We needed the last name, and it's Lehane, L-E-H-A-N-E. That was a 6-letter answer. So it's Dennis Lehane, L-E-H-A-N-E. I don't know if anyone had that. The next one was a 58 across. Famous French filmmaker who was the son of a famous painter. That answer, and I can barely read this guy's name, is Jean Renoir. That answer was 58 across. And that was, let's see, 4, 5, 6, 8, like 10 letters. Jean Renoir, so Jeanrenoir. That is the famous French filmmaker who was the son of a famous painter. The fourth one of the Starks on Games of Thrones. That was 4 letters. Ira, A-R-Y-A. That is the 4-letter answer for one of the Starks of Game of Thrones. And then we did one that was Scandinavian name that becomes a number if you add an E inside of it, which is Sven, S-V-E-N, most likely for 7. 4 letters, S-V-E-N. And the last one was Rocket to the Moon, E-G, and that was Space Shot. S-P-A-C-E-S-H-O-T, Space Shot. Did any of you have those answers? Those were the 6 that we did. And let's do it again. Why not? So let's take a look and see what we can do for next time. Give you something to look up. Give you something to see. Maybe you know it right off the bat. I don't know. Here's one. Number 1 across on this one is how telling. And it is actually 12 letters. So the question only is how telling. And the answer is 12 letters on how telling. That'll be our first one. Here's one. It's 15 across on the New York Times, and it's only 3 letters. There's a black, white, and red one. A black, white, and red one, and that's only 3 letters. And let's see what this one is here. Here's one. It's 5 letters. 22 across. They have sticking points in competition. They have sticking points in competition, a 5-letter answer. So how telling is number 1, 12-letter answer, how telling. There's a black, white, and red one. That's 3 letters. What is that answer? And then on 22, this answer is 5 letters. They have sticking points in competition. Do you guys know any of that? Or will you have to Google? Here's another one. 4 down. It's a steal. That answer's 5 letters. It's a steal. 5-letter answer. What is that? Here's number 15 down on the New York Times crossword. 15 down, and it is 2, 3, 7 letters. True West. Playwright Sam who? So the playwright of True West, Sam who? So I'm sure you have to have his last name. And there again is 7 letters. Who is that person? And our final one here for this side is, let's see here. $34 down is 3 letters. TV channel that has received a 4 Freedoms Award for freedom of speech. What TV channel has received that, and it is only 3 letters? All right, we will get those answers next week to those 6 questions. And we'll see how you did. All right? Something interesting, different to do. You could listen to these questions a few times, rewind this recording and see if you can't get those answers, and we'll confirm them when we start this next week. It's kind of cold down here. I do this in my basement. We have a little studio thing. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's a little cold down here. All right, I have a coat on. What do we want to read about first, people? We do the food at the end, right? We like to do a little food. I'm a foodie. I bet you didn't know. All right, there is a cool little article here that we're going to do right now. It is about a dog. No, it is not Snoopy or my favorite Scooby-Doo. I wish there was an article about Scooby-Doo. I think Scooby-Doo is pretty cool with Shag. I used to skip school when I was a kid to watch Scooby-Doo. So there is a huge illustration, and this thing says, Dogged determination to save lives starts early. Avalanche rescue dogs, whose training begins as puppies, are essential tools for ski patrollers searching for people buried in the snow. And there's this little dog, and there's this guy, and he's got him on a leash, and it's on this snowy hill, and there's a huge background to it. And then there's other illustrations. He actually has the dog around his neck with the paws on each side of him on his left and right. There's another picture of this beautiful-looking German Shepherd. He's an old Dutch Shepherd, 6 years old, just sitting there with his ears up and his tongue out. He's like a beast. And there's a nice illustration there. And there's another one, another illustration where the dog, there's a picture, and it looks like they're probably training. He has somebody in like a big red or orange coat, and he found him in the snow. So it's really cool how much good, the dogs do when it comes to like crime and rescuing and finding people. But the article says, let me see here. Make sure I start it in the right spot. Yes, it says, Bags loves to frolic in the snow, clamber up hills, and plays with ski patrollers. But she is on a serious journey. If she succeeds in becoming an avalanche rescue dog, she could someday save lives. Jackson Hole Mountain Resort in Dayton Village, Wyoming, is training Bags and another puppy to join the pack of 3 seasoned dogs that play an essential role in saving people caught in avalanches. It's a tall order. Patrollers devote years to shaping an avalanche dog. Right now, the pups are learning to ride the chairlift and ski slung across the shoulders of patrollers, which is what that dog was doing on the other guy's shoulders. It all begins with finding a confident pup, like Bags, that loves solving puzzles. The puppies need to be motivated, tenacious, and able to stay calm, especially around distractions like loud helicopters. They need to show intelligence, athleticism, and of course have a strong nose. And if all that's not enough, they need to be good family pets. Patrollers at the resort who own their avalanche dogs say they tend to favor breeds like retrievers, known for their hunting prowess, and shepherds. To select the right dog, you stack the cards in your favor, said Bill Vore, a 45-year-old patroller and avalanche dog handler. The name of this game is trusting your dog to be able to tell you what's going on under the snow, he said. Not every dog is meant to do this. Bags is Rob Brennan's first avalanche dog. He named her perhaps actually after Bags Bowl at the resort. It is a type of terrain trap, a landscape that can elevate the risk of being caught in an avalanche, Mr. Brennan, a report ski patroller, said in a recent interview at the resort. She's super sweet. She likes people, but she also really likes cruising around and sniffing, said Mr. Brennan, 34, as Bags cavorted in snow nearby. It's all high reward, whether it's treats right now or just really excited, energetic play. The training starts as a game of hide and seek that gets progressively harder. For now, Mr. Brennan stayed in sight. Eventually, he will move out of sight and add distractions like toys or treats. Over time, Bags will learn to find patrollers partly, then fully covered by snow, before moving on to more realistic scenarios involving multiple people in avalanche terrain. This training, which could take about 2 years, will build up to a validation test to become an official avalanche dog. She and Mr. Brennan will need to find as many as 3 victims hidden in a 100 by 100 meter site in just 20 minutes. Many ski resorts in the United States, including Jackson Hole, started developing avalanche dog programs in the 1980s, a decade in which several notable avalanche accidents and deaths occurred in Colorado, Washington, and California. Jackson's Hole program dates to 1979. This season, 22 people have died from avalanche accidents in the United States, including 9 skiers in the Sierra Nevada in February. According to the National Avalanche Center, all of these incidents occurred in the West. Many of the accidents were in backcountry ski areas where the snow isn't controlled. Only about half of victims survive an hour after burial, according to National Park Service. A dog's nose, it turns out, is one of the most valuable tools for quickly finding someone buried in the snow. Dogs can narrow down a search area significantly, indicating where patrollers should look for beacon signals and deploy probes and shovels. Avalanche dogs also help rescuers make the difficult decision of when to call off a search, said Heather Mune, a Jackson Hole patroller and avalanche dog handler who owns Levi, a 7-year-old border collie mix. Human technology cannot replace what they do, said John Reller, a former longtime ski patroller and founder of Colorado Rapid Avalanche Deployment, an organization that certifies or validates avalanche dogs. There's no substitute for a well-trained dog and their sense of smell. Today, the majority of ski resorts in the western United States where there is higher avalanche risk have avalanche dog programs, Mr. Reller said. Most today, the Jackson Hole Resort has at least 2 avalanche dogs on the mountain. They're stationed at different locations, including the summit of a 10,450-foot Rendezvous Mountain, which has some of the resort's most challenging terrain. Avalanches don't frequently occur within the boundaries of the resort, but the dogs can also respond to incidents in and out of bound areas nearby as well as in the backcountry. Though the dogs aren't deployed often, when they are worth their weight in gold, Mr. Vore said. In January 2019, Corey Bor Massanari, 22, was swept up in an avalanche in the Taos NM. An avalanche dog from the Taos Valley Resort found him alive. Although he succumbed to his injuries days later, his parents credit the dog for finding him, and they have funded 7 avalanche dogs through an outdoor safety foundation created in his name. Bags is the latest one. That's very nice. I think these dogs are phenomenal, said Bobby Gorin, Mr. Borg's Massanari's mother, adding that the dogs and patrollers were putting their lives on the line to help people. This as an elite rescuer. If everything goes well for Bags, she would someday be adept as Kachi. On a blustery Sunday in February, Kachi, a 6-year-old Dutch Shepherd, was relaxing inside a cozy patrol station at the top of Rendezvous Mountain. The station was a hub of activity with a revolving door of patrollers coming and the steady soundtrack of radio calls about incidents requiring their help. Her owner and handler, Chris Brindisi, 55, has been a patroller at the Jackson Hole Resort for 27 years. They are the resort's most experienced duo. Their colleagues raved about the pair's close bond and Kachi's abilities, which they said placed her among the most elite avalanche dogs they've ever seen. Outside, 2 patrollers were preparing a training exercise. The whole effort took less than a minute. Her reward, a spirited game of tug-of-war. It really takes the whole team to train a dog, Mr. Brindisi said, noting that bringing up a dog like Kachi had taken considerable time and resources. In the end, it's about the people that are under the snow, right? That's why we do this. So that's a really cool program that nobody really think about, right? And they're needed for sure. Dogs do so much to help everything. What do we have here? All right. Let's do our old facts of interest. Across the country, the Trump administration's plans to convert warehouses into immigrant detention centers have been met with fierce local blowback, even in deep red areas that have backed President Trump. Next, on Friday, the long-running surveys of consumers by University of Michigan sank to its lowest level on record, with respondents citing concerns over both high prices and falling asset values. Next, only about half of people caught in avalanches survive an hour after burial, according to the National Park Service, and that was about the story we just read. In Lebanon, more than 1 million people, roughly a fifth of the population, have been forced from their homes since a renewed war erupted last month between Israel and Hezbollah, a militia based in the country. In 1963, when Jim Whittaker became the first American to summit Mount Everest, fewer than 10 people were known to have matched that feat. That's crazy. Can you imagine? And though Britain did not join the attacks against Iran, its Typhoon and F-35 fighter jets have flown nightly missions over Gulf nations to help protect them from incoming missiles and drones. Okay. This says, might we suggest? Okay, buying the Eiffel Tower, or a piece of it anyway. A 137-year-old section of the monument's original spiral staircase is set to go up for auction next month. But make sure you have somewhere to put it. The 14-step piece, estimated to be worth around $146,000 to $176,000, is about 9 feet tall. Start saving up at NewYorkTimes.com/world. Yeah, I got 9 feet of space and $176,000 for some steps. Living off the land. Number 2, in the shadow of the pandemic, a growing homesteading movement is tapping into some Americans' bucolic dream to grow their own food, survive off the grid, and support their communities. Events have popped up in several states around the country, with some offering lessons in canning, butchering, and cooking from scratch. See if you have what it takes to truly self-sufficient at NewYorkTimes.com -US, and there's an illustration, and someone is sitting there. It looks like they're having a little training session, and there seems to be a lamb standing there. I don't want to even know what his fate is. Lunching for cheap on the green. Number 3, there are plenty of premier sporting events where spectators can drop some serious cash and concessions. But at the Masters, most of the fare costs less than a gallon of gas. An egg salad or pimento cheese sandwich goes for $1.50. Iced tea and sodas are $2. Beer and wine are $6, and peanuts, you are in Georgia after all, cost $1.75. Not too shabby for a quick lunch on the course if you can get into Augusta National, that is. Follow more coverage from the tournament at NewYorkTimes.com-athletic. Number 4, reading something extraterrestrial. If the Artemis 2 mission had your thoughts wandering beyond your planet, you might enjoy a dash of alien life in your next read. The book review gathered a collection of alien books that are out of this world, including Alien 3, a novelization of an unproduced alien film, Berserker, the first installment in Fred Saberhagen's unjustly overlooked space opera series, and Speaker for the Dead, Orson Scott's card sequel to Ender's Game. Explore the truths out there at NewYorkTimes.com/books. What's this here? This says, second look, tricks of the trades. Facing a bleak labor market, high college tuition, and fears of displacement by artificial intelligence, young job seekers are increasingly turning to the construction industry to build their financial future. Skilled trade jobs like painting, metalworking, and plumbing, they say, offer an appealing pipeline to more secure opportunities despite the physical demands of the work. But this new generation of blue-collar workers has a wrinkle to iron out. As their numbers tick up, a hiring downturn is shrinking demand for their labor. Okay. Here to help. 5 films to stream on Netflix right now. Anatomy of a Fall 2023. In this riveting character drama from the writer-director Justine Triet, Sandra Hüller-Wright, and there's a picture of her, plays a novelist who becomes a suspect in her husband's mysterious death. The Academy Award-winning screenplay lays out the narrative piecemeal, stubbornly refusing to tell us exactly what happened or how to feel about it. In doing so, Triet slyly toys with our assumptions and sympathies. Hüller is electrifying in a tricky Oscar-nominated performance, Anatomy of a Fall, about her husband's mysterious death. I think she did it. I could see her face on this illustration. I'm going to say she whacked her husband. Next movie, Camp X-Ray from 2014. When the Twilight film series concluded in 2012, Kristen Stewart set her sights on the indie scenes, starring in a series of small, daring movies. This was among the earliest of those efforts, a modest drama with Stewart as Guantanamo Bay guard, whose indifference about her work grows into distaste. That's due in no small part to her interactions with detainee Payman Mahdi, who's appropriately spiky. So that's Camp X-Ray 2014. And here's another one you guys might have heard in 1984, Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters. One of the most reliable chestnuts of classic comedies was the ghost story, and this mega hit from director Ivan Reitman falls well within this tradition. As scientists who team up to investigate the paranormal presences of 1980 New York City, Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis established the personalities and rhythms of a classic comedy team while surrounding themselves with jaw-dropping special effects that service the jokes. I remember that. Ghostbusters, 1984. How many of you were even born then? I was born in 71, so I remember that movie very well. Yeah, I'm old. Okay, age myself. There you go, I'm old. Green Room, 2016. A struggling punk band gets a gig that sounds too good to be true and proves to be in this thriller from the writer-director Jeremy Saulnier. Booked at the last minute at an off-the-map roadhouse, the bandmates are horrified to learn they're playing for a white supremacist gang, and when they're unlucky enough to witness a backstage murder, things really start to get ugly. And that's The Green Room, 2016. And then there's Live and Let Die from 1973. I was 2. Roger Moore's first effort as James Bond is a hoot, a 70s patchwork that fuses the Bond boilerplate with that era's blaxploitation craze with such black cinema stewards as Yelfet Cotto and Gloria Hendry in juicy supporting roles. The plot finds Bond pursuing a drug trafficker connected to a Caribbean diplomat. Throw in Jane Seymour and an Oscar-nominated title song by Paul McCartney and Wings, and you have 121 minutes of pure fun. Live and Let Die, Roger Moore, James Bond, 1973. It's a wrap. It's official. Make the shirt. That's the best one. Okay. That's the best one, people. All right. Now, we're going to read about something totally different. We're going to read about some penguins. Okay? Did you know scientists add emperor penguins and fur seals to the endangered species list? Anytime you see penguins, there seems to be hundreds of them. So I don't know how that's possible, but we're going to read about it. Let's take a look here. This is by Rachel Newer. All right, and there is an illustration. An emperor penguin, several of their breeding colonies in Antarctica are shrinking, leaving scientists concerned. The birds need ice, sea ice, to survive, but that ice has hit record low levels in the past few years, and that's what the illustration. There's one penguin in this picture. Probably wondering where everyone else is. So, by Rachel Newer, emperor penguins, the world's largest and perhaps most recognizable penguin species, have joined the list of wildlife endangered by global warming. The International Union for Conservation of Nature announced on Thursday. In an update of its red list, a comprehensive and authoritative listing of global species based on their extinction risk, being extinct, the group also said that Antarctica fur seals have moved into the endangered category and that southern elephant seals have moved vulnerable. In the case of penguins and fur seals, the changes were largely driven by shifts in ice levels and food availability linked to global warming, researchers said. So there's not as much ice, and this is really changing their situation. For species in the Antarctic region, this is the first clear evidence of climate change's influence pop up in a big way, said Kit Kovacs. Kit Kovacs, a marine mammal researcher at the Norwegian Polar Institute, who leads the IUCN SEAL project. This as emperor penguins. Scientists know of 66 emperor breeding colonies exclusively in Antarctica, many of which were only recently revealed by springtime satellite imagery. Images taken between 2009 and 2018 showed an overall population decline of nearly 10%. Another recent study suggested that between 2020 and 24, 7 colonies in the Ross Sea had declined by 32%. Looking further into the future, various studies predict quasi-extinction in many of the colonies, said Philip Trathan, an emeritus marine ecologist at the British Antarctic Survey, who assisted with the IUCN penguin assessment. The penguin declines are largely attributed to a lack of sea ice, which has hit record low levels in the past few years. Emperor penguins rely on sea ice for breeding and to avoid water during their annual molt, when they essentially lose waterproofing and insulation. It also forms habitat for their aquatic prey. The birds will not be able to survive without sea ice, which is in turn depends on reducing greenhouse gas emissions, something that needs to happen urgently, Dr. Trathan said. Protecting the places where emperor penguins breed, molt, and forage could help sustain the species, he added. Zhou Cheng, director of the Polar Research Center at Sun Yat-sen University in China, who was not involved in the IUCN assessment, agreed that much evidence suggests that emperor penguins are experiencing increasing pressure. He added, though, that it's premature to assume the fate of the species is sealed based on relatively short-term satellite observations. While strengthening conservation actions is important, it is also important to carefully evaluate and maintain confidence in the species' resilience, Dr. Cheng said. Emperor penguins are capable of diving into 1,750 feet in search of squid, fish, and krill. Males handle egg incubation during the continent's long dark winter, foregoing food as they huddle together to conserve heat. Before Thursday's update, they had been in the near threatened category. Antarctic fur seals, it says. Once killed by the millions for their soft pelts, Antarctic fur seals quickly rebounded to conservation status of at least concern after hunting ban was adopted in 1972. In 2014, however, populations have plummeted to fewer than 1 million adults from estimated 2 million. The magnitude and speed of this decline was surprising, Dr. Kovacs said. The main reason seems to be sharp shifts in availability of krill, especially around South Georgia. As waters warm, krill are moving deeper and farther offshore in search of colder temperatures. Disruption of the krill supply is catastrophic for breeding female seals, which depend on ample nearby supplies to rear their pups, according to Jami Forcada, of marine mammal scientists at the British Antarctica Survey, who contributed to the updated assessments. Krill distribution shifts are unlikely to be reversible, Dr. Forcada said, unless the world cuts greenhouse gases soon. A number of other factors might also hasten the decline of fur seals, he added, including increasing levels of commercial krill fishing, competition for krill from recovering whale populations, plastic and other pollution, and disease outbreaks. However, there are no good data to assess these threats, and assigning casualty remains a challenge, Dr. Forcada said. And this said southern elephant seals. Southern elephant seals are 8,800-pound behemoths that take their name from the inflatable trunk-like proboscis that males use like a megaphone in their competition for breeding privileges, with large harems of females. He's 8,800 pounds and he has a large harem of females. But this gregarious lifestyle made the species previously listed under least concern especially susceptible to avian influenza, Dr. Kovacs said. Yeah, I'm going to say he's going to have a lot of opportunity to have a lot more things than influenza if he's got a harem of females. I'm just going to throw that out there. Since the virus first emerged in southern elephant seals in 2023, it has caused huge and profound losses to 3 of the 4 major populations, she said, resulting in overall declines of over 30%. The high mortality might have been exacerbated by climate change, Dr. Kovacs said. In general, viruses and other pathogens do not proliferate well in the cold, so animals that live in polar regions have historically enjoyed some protection. As temperatures warm, though, diseases are attacking wildlife populations with no prior immunity, she said. The situation underlies the cumulative nature of threats to wildlife, according to Dr. Kovacs. Everyone talks about one issue at a time, she said, but many are impinging on animals at the same time, and many are related to climate change. So that's interesting. Hopefully you do something about this climate change. It is changing not only like the penguins, but the bears out there in Antarctica. They need the ice. And these little changes or major changes are really adding a problem. All right. Let's go over a little bit of, let's go to something different. To digest some stocks and bonds, some business news. Whirlpool plans to invest over $60 million in their plant. Whirlpool said on Friday that it would invest over $60 million in an Ohio factory to produce parts for its washer and dryers. Yeah, you know you need them because you buy a washer or dryer nowadays, and within no time, you need parts. The old days, you bought a washer and it lasted for 20 years. We had a new set of washer and dryers, and within 5 years, both were gone. I don't mean parts were gone. I mean within 5 years, both machines were on the curb and replaced. We never did that when I was a kid. We bought a washer and dryer, and that thing will last forever. You might need one little part or something, but nothing's made the way it is. So, of course, they're making $60 million worth of parts because nothing lasts. The appliance maker said the factory, which would be its 11th U.S. manufacturing site and 6th in Ohio, would create between 100 and 150 jobs. That's good. Whirlpool Corporation is leaning into our commitment to U.S. manufacturing, Mark Bitzer, Whirlpool's chief executive, said in a release. Mr. Bitzer is an outspoken advocate for President Trump's tariff policies, and the announcement was made at an event at the company's large washing machine factory in Clyde, Ohio, attended by Jameson Greer, the U.S. trade representative. Whirlpool, which is based in Benton Harbor, Michigan, announced a separate $300 million investment in October in its existing laundry-related operations to increase capacity. Very nice. Next article. This says TSMC's revenue surges propelled by AI interest. TSMC, the world's largest contract chip maker, on Friday reported a 35% surge in first quarter revenue, beating market forecasts thanks to unabated interest in artificial intelligence applications. January to March, revenue reached $1.134 trillion, compared with $839.3 billion in the same period a year earlier, TSMC said in a statement without elaborating. The result topped an LSEG Smart estimate of $1.125 trillion drawn from 20 analysis and was in line with TSMC's January guidance of $34.6 billion to $35.8 billion given at its last earnings call. TSMC only issues guidance in U.S. dollars. TSMC's latest record-smashing quarterly revenue comes as the war in the Middle East is raising energy costs in upending global markets that threatens to disrupt the supply of production materials for semiconductors. So they're not struggling. Next article. Apple leads shipments off smartphones globally. Apple led global smartphone shipments in the first quarter of 2026, growing 5% from a year earlier, even as overall shipments fell because of shortage of memory components, Counterpoint Research said on Friday. Global smartphone shipments fell 6% from a year earlier as Middle East tensions also weighed on consumer sentiment, the research firm said. Apple led the smartphone market for the first time in the first quarter with 21% market share, Counterpoint said. The firm attributed the growth to Apple's positioning, integrated supply chain, and performance in China. The iPhone maker had a 23% surge in China phone sales in the first 9 weeks of 2026. Samsung shipments declined 6%, giving it a 20% market share, as the delayed Galaxy S26 launch and weakness in entry-tier segment weighed on volumes, the research firm said. All right, a little phone news, some chip news, some Whirlpool news. The rich do get richer, don't they? All right, what else do we have here in business? Stocks and bonds. Stocks waver before ceasefire talks, but log weekly gains. Stocks edged lower on Friday as investors brace for developments in peace talks between the U.S. and Iran set for the weekend. But the S&P 500 still ended with its biggest weekly gain of the year. After drifting between gains and losses, S&P 500 fell 0.1% for the day. The tech-heavy NASDAQ composite gained about 0.4%, while the Dow Jones Industrial Average fell roughly 0.6%. Still, the S&P rose 3.6% for the week, its strongest showing since last November. Most of the week's gains had come on Wednesday as investors cheered a last-minute ceasefire agreement between Iran and the U.S. Thought the ceasefire itself is under pressure. Leaders from both countries are set to meet in Islamabad on Saturday. One priority for the talks will be the full reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, a vital shipping passage for oil and gas that Iran has in effect blockaded since the war started. Even after the ceasefire was announced, marine traffic in the strait was at a trickle, and shortages of fuel are already hampering growth in Europe and Asia and pushing up prices around the world. In the United States, the Consumer Price Index report Friday showed that inflation jumped 3.3% in the year through March, a two-year high, largely as a result of surging energy prices. Also on Friday, a reading of consumer sentiment in the country sank to its lowest level on record, with respondents to the long-running survey of consumers by University of Michigan citing the concern over both high prices and falling asset values. In Europe and Asia, stocks rose. The Stoxx 600, a broad index that tracks Europe's largest companies, was up 0.4%. The Nikkei 225 in Japan rose 1.8%. U.S. crude passed $100 during trading on Friday, but settled at 96.5 cents a barrel. Friday's price was up almost 45% since the start of the war. Brent, the international benchmark, settled at 95.20, up more than 30% for the same period. Those costs betray what many oil companies are actually paying for the commodity. They are future prices, not unlike a stock market. The cost to have physical oil today is much higher, indicating the global energy shock is worse than it appears. The Middle East crisis is splitting global power markets into winners and losers, said a report by Wood Mackenzie, an energy consultancy. Some regions like Asia, which is heavily dependent on imported energy from Middle East, are contending with the most serious consequences, the report said. Market prices of liquefied natural gas in Asia, they have gone up 94 cents. The price of coal, which is being used more as LNG supplies run low, has jumped between 17 and 31%. Wood Mackenzie counts Japan as the most vulnerable power market in the world. 2/3 of its electricity comes from imported gas and coal. Italy is most exposed in Europe at 47%, while the United States and Brazil face minimal vulnerability, the report said. Some Americans are seeing gasoline prices at the pump fall. The average price on Friday for a gallon of regular gasoline in the United States was $4.15, down about 1 cent from the previous day, according to AAA Motor Club. The average price for a gallon of regular gasoline jumped 25% between February and March, its highest monthly percentage increase on record, according to data from the Energy Information Administration. There you go. A bunch of good news there. Hopefully this thing could end soon so some prices can get down, but it doesn't seem like groceries, that never seems to recover, even when our gas prices are where they were or a little better. All the inflation we had from previous years and presidents, that's never gone down. Because once they get you buying something at the price that's higher, they never lower it. It doesn't matter if, see what happens is all these stores and all these companies, they charge what they charge, right? So now all these prices go up because of inflation. But even when the gas prices go down and our energy bills, maybe they go a little down or level out, they say, well, everyone's already paying the higher price, so now we'll just pay lower to get it to them. We'll pay lower to get it to these stores, and we'll just take the profit. It never, ever goes down. Never. And once it goes up, it stays up. You're never going to see this stuff drop like, oh, groceries are the way they used to be. That's never going to happen. It doesn't matter if gas prices drop after the war to record prices. You'll never see the prices go down. Why is that? Somehow that don't seem fair. What do we have here? What do we have here? A headline from history. Bitter race in Texas ends with Richards as Democrats pick. April 11th of 1990, a no-holds-barred quest for the nomination of Ann Richards, Texas treasurer, defeated Jim Maddox, the state attorney general, to become the Democratic candidate for governor. The race was ruled by claims of drug use. Mr. Maddox said without evidence that Miss Richards, a recovering alcoholic, had used illegal drugs. A champion of women's rights, Miss Richards rose to national prominence at the 1988 Democratic National Convention with a sharp keynote speech that criticized George H.W. Bush, then as president, who said was born with a silver foot in his mouth. As Miss Richards later defeated Republican candidate and was Texas governor until an upset in 1994 by George W. Bush, her loss to the future president was a sign of the end of generations of Democratic dominance in Texans, the Times wrote in her 2006 obituary. There's your headline from history. Quote of the day: do the savings at Costco justify the price of driving out there? Or should I pay more at the one of the grocery stores within walking distance? Could be worth a little ride. I mean, they have like those $1.50 or something hot dogs. That's all my son-in-law talks about. Wait till they have Costco in Buffalo. They're $1.50 hot dogs. It's worth getting it's worth joining the store for just $1.50 hot dogs. I'll be getting my card. That's all he talks about, $1.50 hot dogs. I got a thing of Salem's in the freezer. Doesn't ever touch them. But we're going to get those $1.50 hot dogs when Costco arrives. I don't know if it's going to be worth the drive to get a $1.50 hot dog, but I know we're doing it. All right, what else do we have here? All right. Well, we always like to take a look at some food towards the end of this little broadcast. And who wouldn't want some... What choices do we have here? Cheesy potato breakfast tacos. The one-pan filling of potatoes and peppers simmered in tomato, then set in cheesy scrambled eggs. Makes for a warming brunch. Christina Felix includes a clever tortilla heating technique that has forever changed how I warm them. Cheesy potato breakfast tacos. I'm going to tell you, that doesn't sound so bad. By Christina Felix. It takes 35 minutes. For me, it will take 50. And there's 4 servings. So for me and another person. All right. 2 tablespoons unsalted butter. 1 tablespoon vegetable oil such as grapeseed or avocado. 2 medium white potatoes or 1 large diced small 12 to 16 ounces, 2 cups. 1 medium leek, white and light green parts, thinly sliced, or 1 medium white onion diced. 1 poblano chili, diced small, seeded if less spicy version is preferred. Salt and black pepper. 1 medium tomato, whatever you want to say. 4 large eggs. And 2 ounces mild semi-soft cheese grated, such as Chihuahua or Monterey Jack. 8 to 10 corn or flour tortillas, preferably fresh. Okay. What are we going to do here? All right. Number 1. To a large cast iron skillet or heavy pan over medium-high, add 1 tablespoon of butter and then the oil. When the butter melts, add the potatoes, leek poblano, 1 teaspoon of salt, and a half teaspoon of cracked pepper, and cook, stirring occasionally until the potatoes start to soften about 9 minutes. While the potatoes are cooking, cut the tomato in half, and using a box grater set in a bowl, grate the cut sides of tomato down to a peel. Discard the peels. This should result in about 3/4 to 1 cup of grated tomato. Add grated tomato and its half teaspoon salt to the vegetables. In the teaspoon salt to the vegetables in the pan and mix to combine. Cook until the liquid evaporates and the tomato begins to caramelize, about 3 minutes. Number 3, reduce the heat to a medium. Make a well in the middle of the pan and add the remaining tablespoon of butter. In a medium bowl, whisk the eggs with a half a teaspoon of salt. When the butter melts, add the eggs to the well and cook, mixing occasionally until almost set, about 7 minutes. Combine eggs with potato mixture in the pan and cut the heat. Sprinkle the cheese on top. Meanwhile, heat the tortillas. And there's a tip here on how to heat them. And keep warm by placing them in a tortilla warmer or wrapping them in a clean dish towel. Number 5, bring the skillet to the table along with the tortillas, scallions, and salsa or hot sauce, if using, and let everyone assemble their own breakfast taco at the table. Now I'm going to tell you, there's a big tip here on how to warm them. So to warm tortillas, quickly heat a camel or skillet or griddle over medium-high. Place as many stacks of 2 tortillas on your hot surface as will fit without overlapping too much, and heat up for 30 seconds. Carefully flip all the stacks and then flip the top tortilla of each stack so that the side has not touched the hot surface faces up. Heat another 30 seconds and then flip all the stacks again and repeat the process until every side of each tortilla has touched the hot surface and they are soft and warmed through. For store-bought corn tortillas that feel a little dry, try lightly spraying them with water while they reheat. And you're going to have, they do have a picture of these cheesy potato breakfast tacos. They do seem like they're a nice little breakfast treat. Other things here. Pan-seared chicken with peas and prosciutto. Pan-seared chicken with peas and prosciutto. There was a picture of that. I'm not sure it's my favorite, but you may love it. Spaghetti with arugula and sardines. I'm going to tell you right now, I am not mixing my spaghetti with sardines. Okay? Maybe you like that. Maybe that's your thing. Maybe that's what makes you happy and feel warm and fuzzy. Mixing a beautiful noodle like spaghetti and throwing in there some sardines. I'm going to tell you right now, I want some Italian bread. I've told you this before. Some grated cheese, some nice Italian seasonings, some nice red sauce, some meatballs, some neck bones, some sausage. Put some more grated cheese on top of that. And do not put any sardines in my general area. All right? Then there's spicy miso lentil soup. I'm not sure about this one either. Spicy miso lentil soup. It might be good. I don't know. Who am I? There is honey-baked chicken drumsticks. This looks delicioso. Delicioso. Honey-baked chicken drumsticks. It looks delicious. There is a nice big pan of drumsticks here with some greens on top. And it's honey baked. Delicious. Delicioso. Looks wonderful. I could eat some of these drumsticks right now with some nice roasted potatoes. You know, you get your nice roasted potatoes and your carrots, cut them, put them in some butter, let them get real nice and cooked. Oh, and throw some of these chicken honey baked drumsticks and throw on a game, and you have a good life going right there. There's another thing here. Browned butter rhubarb crisp. I'm going to take a look at this picture here. Browned butter rhubarb crisp. You know, it looks different. I'd like to try it. Maybe after we have that dish of honey-baked chicken drumsticks and we're all like, oh, man, that was good. What do we got else? What else is in the kitchen? I'm going to walk out with some brown butter rhubarb crisp. And if you don't like that, you know I'm going to have a dozen donuts, so don't worry about it. I'm going to have something else, people. Don't freak if I just come out with some brown butter rhubarb crisp. You don't have to worry that that's the only thing that's going to be there. I'm going to have some donuts or some chocolate cake, or both. And you know we're hitting Dairy Queen up later, so don't worry if you're not a fan of this brown butter rhubarb crisp. I mean, hey, this could be good. Maybe what it looks like to me is you put a little on a plate on the side, brown butter rhubarb crisp, and then a little vanilla, a little scoop of vanilla for something else to have with it. I think that's what we're going to look at, all right? So I'm just going to tell you now that it is always, always, always a pleasure to read to you. I'm looking forward to doing this again. I'm hoping you're having a wonderful weekend. You have been listening to a reading of the New York Times for April 11th, 2026. And for more information, call 716-821-5555. For more information, people, you need to call 716-821-5555. Your reader has been Joe Gibbs. Have a wonderful week. Until then, I'm out.